The starship Horizon glided silently through the violet haze of Zetheria's atmosphere. Lieutenant Alara Vance stared out of the viewport, her fingers brushing lightly against the cool metal of the console. She had trained 4 years for this moment, humanity's first official diplomatic mission to an alien civilization, but nothing could have fully prepared her for the sight of Zetheria's capital. The city below was a marvel. Towers spiraled upward like crystalline trees, shimmering with colors that shifted subtly in the light. Bridges of translucent material connected buildings in complex geometries, and strange, luminous vehicles floated above the streets. The architecture had a living quality, as though the city itself breathed and pulsed with energy. Alara's mind raced, balancing all with professionalism. She straightened her uniform and adjusted the insignia on her chest. As a representative of Earth, she could not afford to appear nervous. Every gesture mattered. Lieutenant Vance, came a calm voice from behind her. Commander Harris, her mission lead, stepped into the room. His expression was serious but carried a hint of excitement. This is it. First contact. Zetherian High Council awaits our arrival. Remember, observe, respond, but don't assume anything. These beings are unlike any species we've encountered. Alara nodded. Understood, sir. I'll keep my composure. Harris offered a small, approving smile. Good. The Queen will be watching closely. Do not disappoint. The landing was smooth. The Horizon descended toward a vast plaza surrounded by Zetherian spires. As the ship settled, a soft hum of energy pulsed through the air, vibrating faintly against Alara's senses. It was neither threatening nor benign, simply present. A reminder that she was in an alien world governed by rules humans could barely comprehend. When the ramp lowered, she felt the weight of dozens of curious eyes on her. Zetherians were taller than humans, with elongated limbs and shimmering skin that reflected light like polished gems. Their eyes were multifaceted, sparkling in colors that shifted with their emotions. They regarded her with a mixture of caution and intrigue. Leading the group was a figure who made the others seem smaller despite their height. She moved with elegance and authority, her armor gleaming in shades of silver and violet. Her presence was magnetic, commanding attention without a word. This was Queen Kyra, ruler of the Zetherians, and the one Alara would spend the next days trying to understand. Kyra's gaze fixed on Alara, and a small, almost imperceptible smile curved her lips. Welcome, human, she said, her voice musical and confident. I have heard much about your species. Let us see if the stories are true. Alara swallowed her nerves and stepped forward. Thank you, Your Majesty. It is an honor to meet you. I hope our visit can build understanding between our peoples. Kyra's eyes gleamed, as if assessing the sincerity behind the words. Words are easy. Actions, however, reveal truth. She gestured toward a grand doorway behind her, carved with flowing, intricate symbols. Come, we have much to discuss. Inside the palace, the air was warmer, carrying a faint, sweet scent that humans could only vaguely identify. The walls shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, subtly changing color in response to movement. Alara's footsteps echoed softly on the polished floors as she followed the queen. Feeling both awe and trepidation, Kyra led her to a chamber furnished with low, floating platforms that served as seating. It was intimate, yet grand, designed to make visitors feel both welcomed and observed. You may sit, Kyra said, settling onto a platform with grace. She studied Alara closely. Humans are fragile, yet persistent. You adapt quickly. I am curious. How will you handle what comes next? Alara sat, maintaining a straight posture. We learn quickly because we must survive. Adaptation is part of our nature. A soft laugh echoed through the room, musical and warm. Kyra leaned slightly forward. Such confidence, yet so cautious. Interesting. Tell me, Lieutenant Vance, do humans fear failure? Alara hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Fear exists, Your Majesty, but we try not to let it control us. We face challenges because we value growth and understanding. Kyra's gaze lingered on her, sharp yet thoughtful. Ah, you speak of growth, yet growth often demands discomfort. I wonder, will you withstand discomfort willingly, or will you cling to what is safe? Alara felt a small thrill of challenge. The queen's words were tests, subtle probes to gauge her reaction. She kept her tone steady. I believe understanding requires courage. Sometimes that means stepping beyond comfort, even risk. Kyra's smile widened, a glimmer of amusement in her multifaceted eyes. Very well, human. You will have opportunities to demonstrate this courage soon. But first, tell me about your species. Why does humanity seek the stars? Alara spoke of exploration, curiosity, and the desire to connect with others. She described humanity's achievements and struggles, the lessons learned through conflict and cooperation. Kyra listened intently, occasionally tilting her head or raising a hand as if to emphasize a point silently. Your species intrigues me, Kyra said finally. You lack the polish of the Zitharians, yet there is a raw strength within you. Tell me, do humans consider themselves rulers or merely survivors? Alara paused, sensing the weight of the question. Survivors first, Your Majesty, but we hope to be more than that. We strive to lead wisely, to protect, and to inspire when we can. Kyra's eyes sparkled as if she had seen a rare gem. Perhaps that is why I am intrigued by you. Not because you are perfect, but because you are alive with possibility. The conversation paused as attendants entered, presenting trays with foods and drinks unfamiliar to human senses. Alara sampled a small portion, careful to remain respectful. Kyra observed, her expression unreadable. Finally, Kyra rose and approached Alara. The queen's armor was intricate, reflecting light like liquid metal. She adjusted a piece near her shoulder, moving closer to Alara than expected. Tell me, human, she said, her tone teasing. Why so shy? Alara blinked, caught off guard. She had maintained composure through formal speeches, philosophical discussions, and subtle tests. Yet the queen's proximity made her heart race slightly. She straightened quickly, giving a polite smile. Kyra's eyes gleamed with amusement. Do not mistake caution for fear. I am testing your character, and perhaps enjoying the novelty of a species unafraid of curiosity. Alara exhaled silently. She realized that this encounter was not just about diplomacy, it was about understanding. Every gesture, every glance, every question was a test of humanity's ability to adapt and respond with intelligence and heart. The meeting ended with a final nod from Kyra. Rest, human. The days ahead will demand more than words. Prepare yourself. As Alara returned to her quarters aboard the palace transport, she reflected on the queen's words. She understood now that Zithyria was a place of both beauty and subtle challenges. Here, humans would need more than courage, they would need insight, patience, and the ability to remain true to themselves. And somewhere in the quiet of the night, she sensed that the alien queen's fascination was just the beginning. The stars outside the viewport shimmered, and Alara whispered to herself, "We are ready." Little did she know, the tests, challenges, and opportunities for humanity's unique strength were only beginning, and the queen would be watching every step of the way. The morning sun, or what humans recognize as a sun, cast off golden light over the crystalline towers of Zithyria. Lieutenant Alara Vance adjusted her uniform as she prepared for her first official ceremony. Her mission wasn't just diplomacy anymore today. She would participate in a Zitharian ceremonial inspection, a test meant to observe not just her appearance, but her composure, intelligence, and emotional control. As she stepped out of her quarters, attendants guided her to a grand hall. The walls shimmered in soft blues and greens, subtly responding to movement. Light patterns danced across the floors and ceilings, giving the room an almost living quality. Humans could only marvel at the sophistication of Zitharian design. At the center of the hall stood Queen Kyra, radiant in her ceremonial armor. The armor was more than protection, it symbolized status, intellect, and discipline. Each piece moved fluidly with the queen, reflecting her grace and power. Her multifaceted eyes glinted as she observed Alara approaching. "Lieutenant Vance," Kyra said, her voice calm yet commanding. "You understand the purpose of today?" Alara straightened. "Yes, Your Majesty. I understand that this ceremony tests discipline, adaptability, and understanding of Zitharian culture." Kyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "Good. Words are easy. Actions are revealing. Let us begin. The attendants guided Alara to a small platform at the center of the hall. Before she could adjust herself, Kyra stepped closer, her presence filling the space. Tell me, human, she teased lightly, why do you adjust your armor so carefully? Alara blinked, surprised by the question. It is practical, Your Majesty. Proper fit ensures movement and comfort. Kyra's eyes sparkled. Practical, yes, but there is more, is there not? Humans worry about appearance, about perception. Is that correct? Alara considered her answer. She could lie, but honesty often earned respect. Yes, Your Majesty. We value both appearance and readiness. How one presents oneself can reflect intent and discipline. Kyra nodded thoughtfully. Interesting. Then we shall see if your readiness matches your presentation. The ceremony began with a series of subtle tests. The first involved balance and poise. Alara had to navigate a platform that shifted slightly beneath her weight. A simple challenge to the Zithurians, but a test of focus for a human unfamiliar with such motion. Her armor, though unfamiliar in design, was lightweight and allowed flexibility. She moved carefully, adjusting with small, precise movements. Kyra circled her slowly, observing every step. Most humans stumble here, the queen remarked softly. Yet you move with caution and grace. Impressive. Next came a test of cultural awareness. A group of Zithurian diplomats presented symbols and gestures, each with specific meanings. Alara had to interpret the gestures and respond appropriately. A single mistake could signal disrespect. She watched closely, recalling her studies of Zithurian customs. When a gesture indicated honor, she mirrored it subtly. When another symbol represented caution, she adjusted her stance. Kyra's eyes narrowed slightly, then relaxed. You observe and adapt. That is commendable. Few of your kind would notice so quickly. The queen stepped even closer, her presence deliberate. Alara could feel the warmth of her aura and the quiet intensity of her gaze. And yet, Kyra murmured, how do you respond to unexpected attention? Humans often falter when confronted directly. Alara felt a slight flutter of nerves, but she maintained her composure. I focus on understanding, Your Majesty. Fear is natural, but it does not dictate action. Kyra's lips curved into a genuine smile this time. Words of wisdom, human. Perhaps that is why you survive where others fail. The final test involved negotiation and moral choice. Alara was presented with a scenario. A Zithurian diplomat claimed a rare resource as essential for their faction, while another argued it should be shared with humans to foster trust. Alara had minutes to resolve the disagreement. She assessed the situation carefully, recognizing that any decision could influence both perception and future relations. Drawing on her training, she proposed a compromise, shared access under mutual supervision, with clear agreements to protect the resource's sustainability. Kyra observed silently, her eyes narrowing slightly as she analyzed the human's reasoning. Practical, fair, and considerate. Humans are not always known for such foresight. Yet you chose cooperation over advantage, a rare trait among your species. Alara nodded respectfully. We understand that trust and alliances build stronger futures than unilateral gain, Your Majesty. A hush fell over the hall. The other Zithurians exchanged curious glances. Humans were unpredictable, and this unpredictability, combined with reasoned judgment, made them fascinating in the eyes of their alien observers. Kyra approached Alara once more, her armor clinking softly with each step. You have done well in these exercises. But tell me, human, courage is not measured only in trials. What of your spirit when faced with discomfort, with ambiguity? Alara's mind went briefly to her missions in space, unexpected crises, unknown dangers, and the constant uncertainty of human survival. She straightened her shoulders. Courage is not the absence of fear, Your Majesty. It is the willingness to act despite it, to choose the path of integrity even when the outcome is unknown. Kyra's gaze softened, as if she had expected this answer all along. She circled Alara slowly, studying her movements and expressions. So, humans may be fragile, yet they are resilient. Perhaps it is not strength in the conventional sense that defines you, but heart, determination, and wit, Alara felt a rush of relief and quiet pride. The queen's acknowledgement, subtle as it was, carried weight beyond words. Zitharians valued perfection, control, and meticulous planning. For a human to be recognized for ingenuity, adaptability, and moral clarity was significant. Kyra leaned slightly closer, her tone teasing once more. "Tell me, does your heart race now, Lieutenant? Or do you maintain composure, as your species claims?" Alara smiled politely, masking her quickened pulse. "My heart is aware, Your Majesty, but my focus remains steadfast." Kyra laughed softly, a musical sound that resonated through the chamber. "Ah, humans. Always fascinating. You are not like the Zitharians, yet you endure, and in endurance you shine." The ceremony concluded with a ceremonial bow and the presentation of a Zitharian emblem of respect. The emblem glowed faintly, recognizing Alara's success in completing the challenges. She accepted it with humility, feeling a sense of achievement, but aware that this was only the beginning of her trials. Kyra's eyes met hers one final time before she left the hall. "Rest now, human. You have shown promise, but tomorrow, the challenges will be greater and the lessons more subtle. Observe carefully, for not all tests are visible." As Alara left the hall, her thoughts swirled. The queen's attention was both intimidating and exhilarating. Zithyria was a world of elegance, intelligence, and quiet power. Every interaction seemed layered with meaning. Humans, with their adaptability, moral intuition, and unpredictable ingenuity, were rare in the eyes of the Zitharians. Alara paused in a quiet corridor, gazing out at the city. A soft breeze carried the faint scent of alien flora, and distant structures pulsed gently with light. She realized that surviving Zithiria's tests would require more than courage. It would require insight, patience, and understanding the subtleties of a culture far older and more sophisticated than her own. She whispered to herself, a quiet promise to the stars, "We will show them what humanity can do." And somewhere, in the luminous halls of the palace, Kyra watched and smiled. The human's performance had been intriguing. She moved carefully, adapted swiftly, and met each challenge with courage and wit. More importantly, she had heart, something Zitharians rarely recognized in others. The day ended with both human and alien reflecting on what they had learned. Alara understood that diplomacy was more than words. It was observation, patience, and understanding the deeper motivations of others. Kyra understood that humans were unexpectedly remarkable, capable of qualities Zitharians had long undervalued. Tomorrow, the challenges would grow more complex, and the Queen's tests would become more personal and demanding. But for now, humanity had earned a small but meaningful place in Zithiria's vast and enigmatic world. And so, Lieutenant Vance prepared herself for the next day, her mind sharp, her heart steady, and her spirit ready for the challenges ahead. The morning air on Zithyria shimmered with soft hues of amber and violet, as though the planet itself were alive and observing. Lieutenant Alara Vance adjusted her uniform one last time before stepping onto the platform that would lead her to the first trial of the day. The ceremonial inspection had been a test of composure and understanding. Today, the challenges would test her wit, judgment, and courage. Queen Kyra awaited her at the entrance, her armor glinting in the ambient light. "Lieutenant Vance," she said, her tone calm but edged with curiosity, "today you will face trials that measure not only skill but insight. Are you prepared?" Alara straightened her posture, her gaze firm. "Yes, Your Majesty. I am ready." Kyra's multifaceted eyes glimmered with approval. "Good, then proceed." The trial area was a large, open courtyard surrounded by crystalline walls that refracted the sunlight into millions of tiny rainbows. At its center floated a series of platforms and puzzles, hovering midair, each glowing with an intricate pattern. Several Zitharian diplomats watched silently, their presence a reminder that Alara's every move would be scrutinized. The first challenge was a test of problem solving. Alara stepped onto a platform that immediately began to shift in a complex sequence. Symbols appeared in midair, glowing with colors that changed unpredictably. She realized quickly that the platform responded not just to weight, but to thought patterns. Observing carefully, she mimicked the flow of the symbols with subtle movements. Adjusting her balance and gestures to match the rhythm, a soft chime sounded, indicating success. The platform stabilized, and Alara moved forward, her pulse steady. She sensed that Kyra's eyes followed her every step, assessing not only her actions, but her mindset. The second challenge involved negotiation and diplomacy under pressure. Two Zitharian factions approached her simultaneously, each claiming a resource critical to their survival. The factions were skilled in persuasion, and their arguments were fast. Layered with cultural nuances humans could easily misunderstand, Alara listened carefully, taking note of their priorities and subtle cues. One faction emphasized efficiency, while the other valued fairness and harmony. She spoke calmly, proposing a solution that balanced both efficiency and fairness. Ensuring that neither faction would feel cheated, Kyra stepped closer, her voice teasing. Do humans always try to please everyone? Or do you consider consequences beyond immediate appearances? Alara met her gaze steadily. We consider both. A decision that favors only one side may solve a problem now, but create greater conflict later. Understanding both short-term and long-term consequences is essential. Kyra's lips curved slightly, a glimmer of admiration in her eyes. Wise? For one so young in the ways of interstellar diplomacy. The third trial tested moral courage. A holographic scenario unfolded before Alara. A Zitharian citizen accidentally released a small energy field that threatened to destabilize a nearby structure. Alara had seconds to decide: divert the field immediately, risking damage to the citizen, or allow it to continue briefly to study its effects. Risking greater harm. Her mind raced, weighing consequences and moral responsibility. Acting decisively, she redirected the energy field, minimizing both danger and damage. The hologram dissipated, and a chime signaled approval. Kyra's voice floated across the courtyard. You chose action over hesitation. Most humans would hesitate or overthink. You acted. That is the essence of courage. Alara felt a surge of pride, but she did not let it show. Her focus remained on the tasks ahead. She understood that Zitharians valued not just intelligence, but the wisdom to act rightly under pressure. As she approached the fourth challenge, a subtle tension filled the air. The queen herself had designed this part. A puzzle floated midair, glowing with complex geometric shapes. But this one was different. It required creativity rather than calculation. Alara studied the puzzle, considering her options. Instead of following the obvious sequences, she experimented, combining movements and gestures that were unconventional. Slowly, the shapes shifted, aligning into a stable configuration. Kyra's voice, softer now, echoed through the courtyard. Creativity. Humans are unpredictable. You think differently from Zitharians. It is fascinating to watch. Alara realized then that this trial was more than a test of skill. It was a test of human uniqueness. Zitharians prized perfection and precision. Humans, by contrast, thrived on adaptability and imagination. The final part of the trial combined all elements: problem-solving, diplomacy, moral choice, and creativity. A simulated crisis unfolded. A rogue faction had blocked access to a critical energy source, threatening to destabilize the city's core. Alara had to negotiate with the faction, solve technical puzzles to restore energy flow, and ensure no lives were endangered. Time pressed against her. The rogue faction's demands were calculated to provoke mistakes. Alara moved carefully but decisively, using observation, negotiation, and ingenuity. When a sudden obstacle forced her to improvise, she acted swiftly, redirecting energy and negotiating compromise simultaneously. A soft chime rang out, signaling the successful completion of the trial. The crowd of Zitharians erupted in subtle applause, soft claps, nods, and clicks of approval. The humans observing were silent but visibly impressed. Kyra stepped forward, her armor reflecting the light like liquid metal. She approached Alara, her eyes studying every detail of her expression. You have performed admirably, human, she said. Your species is remarkable. You are not perfect, yet your imperfections allow you to adapt, to think creatively, and to act with courage. You are unusual, and therefore intriguing. Alara exhaled quietly. She felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. She had navigated the challenges without error, but she knew that Zithirians were masters of subtlety. There were always lessons hidden beneath each action. The queen stepped closer, her gaze gentle but intense. And yet, curiosity remains your strongest trait. You observe, you question, you act. Most species fear the unknown. Humans embrace it. Perhaps that is why you survive and why you may thrive among us. Alara's heart quickened slightly, though she maintained her composure. We believe in learning from every experience, Your Majesty. Fear is natural, but understanding allows us to move forward. Kyra tilted her head slightly, as if considering this deeply. Indeed, perhaps there is hope for humanity yet. For a moment, there was silence between them, filled with unspoken understanding. The queen's attention, her subtle challenges, her measured teasing, all of it revealed a fascination with the human capacity for courage, adaptability, and ingenuity. As the crowd dispersed, Kyra spoke again, softer this time. Lieutenant Vance Bress, now, you have proven skill and heart. Tomorrow, we test not your mind, but your spirit. Be prepared to confront uncertainty in ways you cannot yet predict. Alara nodded, understanding that each trial was designed not merely to challenge her abilities, but to reveal the essence of humanity. She returned to her quarters aboard the palace transport, her mind alive with possibilities. Each challenge had taught her something new, not just about Zithirians, but about herself and the human spirit. She looked out at the city again, the crystalline towers reflecting the sunset in shades of gold and violet. Zytheria was beautiful, yes, but it was also a place that demanded resilience, insight, and heart. Humanity's survival here would depend not only on intelligence, but on the qualities that made them unique: creativity, empathy, and courage in the face of the unknown. Alara whispered quietly, almost to herself, "We are ready. Whatever comes next, we will meet it with strength, heart, and wit." And somewhere, in the quiet glow of the palace, Kyra watched and smiled, knowing that the human before her was not just competent, but exceptional in ways Zithirians rarely acknowledged. The trials were far from over. The tests would grow more personal, more complex, and more revealing. But for now, Alara had proven that humans were not just survivors, they were a force capable of adapting, thinking, and acting in ways even the most advanced civilizations might underestimate. And that was exactly what made her and humanity so fascinating. The palace was quiet that morning, bathed in soft light that filtered through the crystalline windows. Lieutenant Alara Vance walked the corridors with careful steps, her mind replaying the trials of the previous day. She had faced challenges of wit, diplomacy, and moral courage, earning the respect of Queen Kyra and the observing Zithirians. Yet, she knew that today's trial would be different, more subtle, more personal, and more revealing of the essence of humanity. An attendant appeared, guiding her to a private chamber deep within the palace. The doors opened to a space both grand and intimate, with floating platforms for seating and soft glowing walls that seemed to pulse in response to presence. At the center stood Queen Kyra, her armor gleaming in hues of silver and violet. She did not speak immediately, allowing the silence to fill the room. "Lieutenant Vance," Kyra said finally, her voice calm yet layered with curiosity, "you have impressed many with your abilities, but intelligence and courage alone do not define a species. Today, I wish to understand the human heart." Alara's pulse quickened slightly. She had expected tests of mind and skill, but now the Queen's challenge seemed more elusive, an examination of emotion, empathy, and understanding. She bowed slightly. "I will do my best, Your Majesty." Kyra's eyes studied her with intensity. "Good, let us begin." The Queen motioned toward a series of holographic displays that floated in the air. Each showed scenarios that Zithirians considered morally complex or emotionally challenging. In one, a human crew was faced with a failing spacecraft, forced to choose between their own safety and saving another species. In another, a leader had to decide whether to prioritize rules or compassion. "Humans," Kyra began, "you claim to value life, courage, and morality. Show me how you choose when choices are not clear, when logic conflicts with heart." Alara stepped forward, examining the first scenario. She studied the situation carefully, recognizing the importance of each action. She chose to save the other species, understanding that human survival alone would hold little meaning without ethical principles guiding action. The display shifted, offering feedback. The decision was difficult, but the system acknowledged her choice as balanced, wise, and empathetic. Kyra's lips curved slightly. Indeed, humans are capable of profound empathy, even under pressure. Few species would risk themselves for others. Next, the Queen introduced a scenario involving interpersonal trust and negotiation. Two alien species had a dispute over resources vital to both communities. Each expected humans to act in their favor. Alara assessed the situation carefully, considering not only fairness, but long-term consequences. She proposed a compromise that ensured both sides benefited while respecting cultural protocols. Kyra leaned forward slightly, her voice teasing. So humans can be clever and yet kind. You navigate subtlety and morality together. Rare, very rare indeed. Alara felt a small sense of pride but maintained her composure. She realized that Zitharians tested not just actions but intentions, measuring subtle cues to understand a being's true nature. The Queen then posed a question more abstract, almost philosophical. Humans speak often of growth and potential. Yet, growth requires discomfort, risk, and sometimes failure. Tell me, how does your species respond to mistakes? Are they feared or embraced? Alara paused, choosing her words carefully. We learn from mistakes, Your Majesty. Fear exists, but it is a guide, not a master. Growth is only possible when we acknowledge failure and use it to improve. Kyra's gaze softened. Interesting. Most species avoid failure at all costs. Humans, you see it as a teacher. Perhaps that is why you endure, even flourish, where others falter. The room was quiet for a moment, as if the very walls were absorbing their words. Alara realized that this trial was as much about observation and reflection as action. The Queen sought to uncover the essence of humanity, and every answer, every gesture, was being measured. Kyra moved closer, her armor shining in the soft light. And yet, courage and intelligence are visible. But what of the subtle strength, the ability to inspire, to empathize, to connect? Can humans form bonds across differences? Alara's thoughts turned to her crew, to the friendships and trust built over years of training and missions. Yes, Your Majesty, we connect because we understand the value of others. Even across differences, we find common ground. It is not always easy, but it is always worth pursuing. Kyra's eyes glimmered with approval. She circled Alara slowly, examining every reaction, every detail of posture and expression. Fascinating. Most species are rigid, bound by hierarchy and protocol. Humans, unpredictable, yet capable of profound connection. You adapt to the unexpected, and in doing so, you thrive. The Queen extended her hand, inviting Alara to step onto a small floating platform. The platform rose, carrying her to a vantage point overlooking the palace gardens below. Bioluminescent plants glowed softly, and streams of water floated in midair, defying gravity. From here, Kyra said, you can see both beauty and complexity. Life is rarely simple. Chaos exists alongside order. Strength alone does not ensure survival. Wisdom, compassion, and adaptability are equally essential. Humans, you may have all these qualities, but will you use them when tested further? Alara looked out at the gardens, absorbing the words. She understood that the Queen's trials were not just ceremonial, they were lessons. She nodded. We will, Your Majesty. Humanity strives to meet challenges with both courage and conscience. Kyra's multifaceted eyes seemed to reflect the glow of the gardens. Good. I am intrigued by your species, Lieutenant. You demonstrate not just skill, but heart. Most beings can only imitate heart. Humans, you possess it inherently. For a moment, the two simply observed each other. There was a quiet understanding, a mutual recognition that went beyond protocol and hierarchy. The Queen, for all her authority, seemed genuinely fascinated by this human who moved with calm determination. In thoughtful reflection, Kyra's tone softened, almost playful. Tell me, does your heart ever tire, human? Or does your spirit always seek understanding, even when faced with the unknown? Alara smiled lightly, maintaining composure. Our hearts may tire, Your Majesty, but our curiosity and determination drive us forward. The unknown is not something to fear, but an opportunity to grow. Kyra's lips curved into a rare, genuine smile. Indeed, perhaps that is why I am intrigued. Humans are fragile, yet resilient, predictable in your unpredictability, capable of mistakes, yet able to act rightly. Fascinating. The trial concluded with a final, subtle challenge. Kyra handed Alara a small, glowing object. This represents a choice, the Queen said. It is yours to keep or return. It carries no danger, yet choosing to hold it requires trust in yourself and in what you have learned. Alara studied the object carefully. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, and she felt a connection, not magical, but symbolic. She understood that trust, judgment, and insight were being measured. With a calm nod, she accepted it, symbolizing her readiness to embrace responsibility and wisdom. Kyra studied her for a long moment. Very well, human. You have shown skill, courage, insight, and heart. You are unusual, yet admirable. Few beings earn my interest so completely. Alara felt a quiet pride. She understood that today's trial had tested not only what she could do, but who she was. Humanity's strength lay not just in intellect or courage, but in the combination of heart, creativity, and moral clarity. As Alara left the chamber, escorted back to her quarters, she reflected on the Queen's words. Zytheria was more than a place of beauty. In technology, it was a society that valued subtlety, insight, and character. To succeed here, humans would need to demonstrate all these qualities consistently. She whispered quietly to herself, a promise carried on the gentle breeze of the palace gardens. We are more than survival. We are capable of wisdom, courage, and heart, and we will show it. Somewhere in the palace, Queen Kyra watched from her chambers. The human before her was not just competent, but remarkable in ways Zytherians rarely acknowledged. She moved with balance, thought deeply, and acted with moral clarity. More than that, she had heart, a trait that could not be measured by technology, ritual, or ceremony. Kyra smiled softly, knowing that the days ahead would bring more challenges, more subtle lessons, and opportunities for humanity to prove its value not just as survivors, but as beings capable of bridging worlds, understanding differences, and inspiring trust. Tomorrow, Alara would face the final tests, challenges that would require leadership, courage under direct threat, and the full expression of human ingenuity and moral clarity. But for now, she had shown that humanity was more than capable of navigating the complexities of Zytherian society, and in doing so, earning a place of respect among one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. And so, as night fell over the glowing towers of Zytheria, both human and alien reflected quietly on what had been achieved and what was yet to come. The sky over Zytheria burned with the soft light of a twin sunrise, casting long violet shadows across the crystalline towers. Lieutenant Alara Vance stood at the observation platform, her armor polished and her mind alert. The trials had tested every part of her intelligence, courage, morality, and heart. Today, she would face the ultimate challenge, a crisis that could determine the fate of both humans and Zytherians. Reports had arrived overnight. A rogue Zytherian faction had blocked access to the energy core of the city, threatening to destabilize the delicate balance of the capital. If the situation escalated, countless lives could be at risk. The Queen herself had summoned Alara to participate in the resolution not as an observer, but as a leader. Kyra appeared beside her, her armor shimmering in the soft morning light. Lieutenant Vance, she said, her tone serious, this is no mere test of skill or wit. Today, your actions will impact lives, your judgment will be measured in real time, and your humanity will be visible to all. Are you ready? Alara's gaze met the Queen's. Yes, Your Majesty. I will do everything I can to protect life and restore order. Kyra's eyes softened with rare warmth. Then let us begin. The scene that unfolded before them was chaotic. Floating vehicles hovered erratically, and energy barriers flared unpredictably. Zithirian engineers scrambled to stabilize core systems, while the rogue faction's drones patrolled the perimeter, scanning for threats. Alara quickly assessed the situation. She knew that brute force would not succeed. Negotiation, strategy, and quick thinking were required. She activated her communicator, coordinating between human observers and Zithirian engineers, relaying instructions calmly and clearly. Divert auxiliary energy to stabilize the northern quadrant, she instructed. Engineer teams follow protocols exactly. Don't improvise unless necessary. We cannot risk mistakes under pressure. Kyra watched her closely, noting every decision. The human lieutenant moved with a calm decisiveness that belied the tension around her. Where Zithirians relied on rigid procedures, Alara adapted to the unpredictable, responding to new challenges as they appeared. A sudden alarm rang. A rogue drone had breached the inner perimeter, moving toward the energy core. Alara's heart raced, but she did not falter. She directed a team of human engineers to deploy a containment field while negotiating with the rogue faction via translator protocols. You cannot control everything with force, she said through the communicator. We offer cooperation. Let us work together to prevent harm to everyone. The rogue faction hesitated, its leader assessing her words. Then, after moments of tense silence, a compromise was reached. The drones withdrew, and the engineers stabilized the core. Energy flow resumed, and the city's systems returned to normal. Kyra stepped forward, her armor reflecting the sunlight, her expression unreadable. Lieutenant Vance, she said, her tone calm but edged with awe, you have acted decisively. With intelligence, courage, and heart, you protected lives, negotiated with enemies, and preserved the balance of our society. Few Zithirians could have accomplished this so well. Alara lowered her gaze respectfully. I only acted as I hoped humanity would, Your Majesty. Cooperation, understanding, and courage guided my choices. Kyra's lips curved into a faint smile. Rare and genuine. Humanity is extraordinary. You are not the strongest, not the fastest, nor the most precise. But you endure, you adapt, you think, feel, and act in ways even the most advanced beings might overlook. That is why you survive and why you may thrive. The Queen raised her hand, and a small ceremony unfolded before the gathered engineers, diplomats, and observers. A glowing emblem, symbolizing recognition and respect, was presented to the human delegation. Alara stepped forward to accept it on behalf of her species. This emblem, Kyra announced, represents not only skill or courage, but the essence of humanity, intelligence, creativity, compassion, and resilience. Let this be known throughout Zitheria. Humans are worthy allies, capable of contributing to the harmony and prosperity of our society. A quiet murmur ran through the crowd. Zithirians exchanged glances, many impressed, others surprised. Humans had proven themselves not just competent, but remarkable in ways the Queen had predicted, but few had expected to witness. Alara felt a swell of pride, tempered by humility. She glanced at Kyra. Thank you, Your Majesty. Humanity is honored to be recognized in this way. We hope to continue learning, contributing, and building trust between our species. Kyra's eyes sparkled, a glimmer of amusement in her multifaceted gaze. Trust is earned, human, and you have earned it through action, insight, and heart. Few beings can claim such recognition so early in their history. Remember this. Lieutenant Vance, your species' strength lies not only in survival, but in your capacity to inspire, adapt, and act rightly. The ceremony concluded. But the challenges of Zitheria were far from over. Alara understood that diplomacy, negotiation, and leadership were ongoing responsibilities. Humanity's actions today had earned respect, but tomorrow would bring new tests, new crises, and new opportunities to demonstrate their unique qualities. As she walked back to her quarters, Alara reflected on the journey, from the first encounter with Queen Kyra, through ceremonial inspections and trials of wit, judgment, and moral courage, to the final crisis. Every moment had tested the essence of humanity. And humanity had not merely survived. It had thrived, She paused at the balcony overlooking the city, watching streams of light and vehicles moving gracefully through the skyways. The twin suns of Cytherea reflected in her eyes, and she whispered quietly, almost to herself, "We are more than explorers. We are capable of courage, wisdom, and heart, and we will continue to show it." Kyra observed from a distance, a rare smile on her face. The human lieutenant had demonstrated qualities that Cytherians prized but seldom witnessed: adaptability, ingenuity, moral clarity, and empathy. Perhaps, the Queen thought, these humans are more than I imagined. Perhaps they will change not only their own world, but ours as well. Over the following days, humans and Cytherians worked side by side, repairing systems, learning from each other, and strengthening bonds of trust. Alara found herself in constant dialogue with Kyra, discussing philosophy, strategy, and ethics. Each conversation deepened mutual respect and understanding, bridging the gap between two vastly different species. The Queen occasionally teased her, a soft challenge in her tone. "Tell me, human," Kyra said once, adjusting a piece of her armor as she approached, "will your species always embrace the unknown, or will fear sometimes hold you back?" Alara smiled, confident yet humble. "Fear exists, your majesty, but curiosity, courage, and understanding guide our choices. We do not let fear define us. That is what makes us human." Kyra's eyes sparkled with approval. "Indeed, perhaps that is why I am fascinated by your species. You endure, adapt, and thrive not by perfection, but by heart, intelligence, and courage." Remarkable. Months later, as humanity's presence on Cytherea became established, Alara reflected on the journey. She understood now that survival alone was insufficient. To truly earn respect, humans had to demonstrate insight, compassion, and creativity. These qualities had impressed the Queen, won allies, and established humanity as a worthy partner in the galaxy. The city's towers glowed softly as night fell, but the light reflected not just physical brilliance, it symbolized a brighter future, forged through cooperation and understanding. Humanity had proven itself, not only to Cytherians, but to the stars themselves. Kyra watched from her chamber, her gaze distant yet focused. "Humans," she whispered to herself, "perhaps you are more than I imagined. Your heart, your courage, it may guide not only your world, but the future of many." Alara, standing atop the observation platform, gazed at the city below. She felt a quiet determination and pride, knowing that humanity's journey among the stars was only beginning. Today, they had earned respect. Tomorrow, they would continue to build, to learn, and to inspire. The twin suns of Cytherea set, casting long, shimmering shadows across the crystalline towers. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through force, nor through superiority, but through heart, ingenuity, courage, and understanding. And in that quiet moment, both human and alien understood a simple truth: when different species meet with respect and curiosity, the universe itself becomes a place of endless possibility. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready.